Imagine being looked down upon every day just because you act or look a little differently than the majority. Most of us can curb our behavior to blend into society, but for others, abnormal may be hardwired into their personality. It wasn't their fault they were born like this. There wasn't anything they could do to prevent this. But what if you can? What if there was some technology or procedure available to make sure every child was born without physical or genetic defects? Well, very soon there just might be a new screening process. Parents carrying genetic disease now no longer have to worry if their son or daughter will carry the trait as well, and in addition can pick and choose specific physical traits for the potential children. Genetic engineering is still a very new technology and it's not yet fully developed, but it has the capacity to revolutionize medicine as we know it. I believe the technology used to create designer babies can have an incredible impact on today's society, as well as on the future of humanity. The primary benefit of the availability to create your own designer baby is the fact that genetic disease, such as Down syndrome and muscular dystrophy, can be completely eradicated in a mere generation or two, not to mention the possible advancements of medical technology. Author Michael Catalano of the Pitt Journal explains possible innovations for the future. Quote, while there are currently functioning methods to genetically modify human beings, more processes are being developed with even greater capabilities. These processes involve the actual modification and alteration of the genes of a gamete or somatic cell. The renowned Human Genome Project has successfully mapped out the 20,000 to 25,000 human genes and 3 billion chemical base pairs of the human genome. It has provided the effects of each gene, and scientists continue to work on uncovering how they interact with each other and how they are affected by the environment. In our genetic makeup, specific chains of genetic material account for individual traits. Catalano brings up an example stating that a series of code exists in our DNA that is responsible for determining eye color and hair color. He continues, saying that there are other chains that account for many other physical, emotional, and psychological traits as well. The reason humans are susceptible to genetic disease is due to the fact that it is literally hardwired into our genetic makeup. Somewhere within the genetic makeup of a person, there's a chain with a specific genetic code identical to that of a genetic disease. Soon, geneticists will be able to isolate that chain and replace it, thereby eliminating the genetic disease from the code. Another benefit of research into genetic engineering is the advancement of our current technologies responsible for genetic observation. In 1990, when the research into the human genome was in its infancy, human cloning was looked at as science fiction. Today we know the technology is not far off. According to an article in the Live Science Medical Journal concerning the exploration of benefits of current research into the field of genetic engineering, it is common in today's world for parents to choose to screen their embryos via in vitro fertilization for sex or diseases. This process is known as pre-implantation genetic diagnosis. This technology has been around for several decades, but now it is much more available to the public and much more advanced. The article continues to describe advantages of current technology that has advanced due to the research into genetic engineering. Quote, new tests can detect fetal DNA circulating in a woman's bloodstream early on in pregnancy, determining sex or catching errors in the number of chromosomes. Abnormal chromosome numbers cause disorders as Down syndrome. End quote. Currently, it is only possible to detect gender or genetic errors, but just think about the possibilities for the future. Soon it may be possible to observe the entire genome of the fetus, or possibly to discover a child's odds of long-term diseases such as Alzheimer's or diabetes. Overall, the possible implications of the technology could have on society are significant. It starts with genetic disease and moves on to physical traits. But how does society change after all its people have been made to order? In an interview through PBS with Lee Silver, professor of genetics at Princeton University, where his laboratory is attempting to identify genes that influence personality and behavior, Silver was asked about his standpoint on how this technology could impact society. The interview starts with the question of whether Silver believes there should be laws restricting the genetic engineering technologies. Silver answers, I think the regulation is important to make sure that these technologies are used with informed consent and that people aren't harmed, end quote. It is obvious that the main concern for these procedures is, above all else, is the well-being of the person on whom these procedures are being performed. Without control, these procedures will never be able to thrive in today's society. Silver continues, quote, and I would say that most people would be willing to accept regulations if the regulations were reasonable. But what most people would say is that no regulation is better than bad regulation that bans everything, end quote. He truly believes this technology could have a vital impact on current society and the future. Withholding this technology from the public is not right, and in his mind, he believes it is unethical to keep potentially life-saving technology from those who might need it. Now, I know there's a strong following of people who not view the issue the same way I do. I believe the technology necessary for these procedures is crucial for humanity to continue to advance forward. Others view the genetic engineering process as unethical and wrong. This is because they believe humans were created in the image of God, and deliberately changing or rearranging the genetic code of an otherwise naturally born human is viewed as the destruction of God's work. Being brought up as a Catholic, I decided to interview both my mother and father to see what they thought on the subject. My father, similar to the majority, did not believe genetic manipulation is entirely ethical, but he realized the possible benefits of the technology. My mother, on the other hand, gave some unique insight into the issue. She explained that according to the Bible, Adam and Eve were created in the image of God. Then came original sin, and so began pain, disease, and the hardship associated with birth defects. But how could it have been God's intention for mankind to remain in such a primitive state? It is her belief that a human's capacity for higher intellectual function comes from the power of God, and it is the Lord's will for the human species to progress through each passing generation. With every conception or discovery, the power of God will decide viability. I consider my mother to have an extremely strong creationist beliefs, so when I heard her interpretation of the argument, I was honestly shocked. But now I understand where she was coming from. She believes it is the Lord's intention to protect His children. This includes giving humans the ability to shape society and evolve technology to care for every single child of God. In my opinion, the potential benefits of genetic engineering heavily outweigh the ethical dilemmas. It is our duty to take action and discover new ways to strengthen the human species, both physically and intellectually. The first step is destroying disease that kills us from within, and from there we can move on to producing stronger, healthier beings. The world will continue to change, but with greater leaps and bounds in the field of medicine and medical technology, there will always be people who fight progression out of fear of the unknown. But we should not be hindered so long as we understand the risks and benefits. According to my mother, society could not have evolved if not for God's will. So based on how far we have come, why should we stop now?